All right, JT, all that fluff out of the way. Let's get into the warm-up. And today's warm-up is our 2023 NFL predictions. Would you like to start us off? I want you to run down your 7 playoff teams from each conference. And I will do the same, and then we'll talk about the playoffs. How about that?
Yeah, for sure. So we can get into this. So I did this morning, and oh boy. Like, I feel like we probably say this every single year, right?
It's tough.
But, like, this is the year now where I feel like there's so much parity in the NFL, and just everybody's going to be so close, and then it's going to end up being totally wrong. But truly, I was like, there's a lot of good teams out there this season. Like, super excited to watch some football, especially tonight, between a Lions team that, like, also has some very high aspirations this season. So it was hard for me to kind of pick the teams, but I'll start off with the NFC.
Okay.
Here.
Let's hear it.
NFC, and then
let's do that. I mean, everybody can agree the NFC is the weaker conference. Yes. It's probably a tad easier to pick. I know in the AFC, in the NFC, I didn't feel like I left out any 2 deserving teams that I really want to see them in the playoffs. In the AFC, I left out at least 3 or 4 that I think absolutely are probably going to prove me wrong and somehow get into the playoffs. But no matter how you slice it this year, there are going to be at least 3 teams that could definitely finish in DVOA, like top 5 on offense and defense, that are just not going to make the playoffs. And it's going to be very frustrating for those fan bases, but it's the way that it works. The AFC is just so stacked. So yeah, give me your NFC rundown.
Yeah. So my NFC rundown right here. So first overall seed, even though on the Hot Read podcast Take Purge, I had them not making the playoffs. I've come full circle because of, once again, that was during the Take Purge.
There's a Take Purge, totally different situation. You don't believe that unless you're right, in which case you can go back and point to you said it.
Exactly.
Right. We love to double standards so you never lose is the idea.
Exactly. So I have the Eagles being the first overall seed in the NFC with a 12-5 record. Maybe not as exciting as they were last season, but 5 losses this season.
Well, when you're that perfect, you mean just naturally you're due for aggression. That offense, almost certainly not going to be as dynamic. Their defense, for sure, I have more questions about this year than last, but I think it's not all that uncommon for folks to think the Eagles are still the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, so they're my number 1 seed here. And then number 2, I have the Seattle Seahawks going just 10-7.
You know I'm big on the Seahawks this year, so I'm with you.
Yeah, I have them in the 2 spot. I really like them to win the division this year. In my 3 spot, I have the Detroit Lions coming out of the
Restore
NFC
the roar, baby.
Yes, that is now apparently the catchphrase.
You never heard that?
No,
well, it's because the Lions fans have been trying to restore the roar for so long. They've quit. They've given up on restoring the roar. But that goes back. We are finally restoring the roar in the Big D.
We might see it tonight, like Travis Kelce out. Like, I would not.
I hope so.
Let's
do it tonight. I'm in.
So we'll see, but I have them as my 3, and then of course someone has to win the NFC South this season, and
someone does.
The Atlanta Falcons winning, just scraping by the Saints with a record of 9-8. I'm a little bit higher on Desmond Ridder than I think a lot of other people might be. He definitely is the Falcons quarterback that they believe in right now. And with Bijan Robinson,
the operative word.
Drake London, Kyle Pitts, I think they have some dynamic weapons. So I'm going to go with them as my 4, and then we get to the wild card teams where, I'm kind of tiptoeing the line of my Take Purge, but I'm still going to put 2 more NFC East teams in on the wild card.
Okay.
Here. I have
3 of 4. I'd say that qualifies. 4 of 4's never been done. Yes. So
I have the Cowboys and Giants both making it at 10-7. I think those teams are also pretty even as we get some thumbs up from the crowd here. I think that's a good take. Thank you for the positive affirmation there in my takes. And then finally, I think there is some merit to what you said in your take, that I don't think the 49ers are the end-all, be-all this season. And I have them just barely getting into the playoffs at 9-8. I'm not sold on Brock Purdy this season, but yeah, so that's my 7 right there.
Okay, so my NFC looks similar in the division winners, but then we change things up with the wild card. So I've got the Eagles winning the division, 13-4, best record in football. And then the Seahawks behind them at 12-5. I think the Seahawks are going to have a really, really strong year. If you look at their roster last year, that was a surprise playoff team. It's the exact same roster. Like, they didn't lose any valuable pieces. They only added to a defense that was pretty shaky that I think they shored up pretty nicely in the offseason. So I think they'll have a very good year. Lions in the 3 seed at 10-7, again, restoring the roar, winning the NFC North, and the Falcons winning that South division at 10-7 as well. my wild cards, I think the Cowboys are the rare 2 wins above 4th place wild card team where you're like, why are they a wild? Oh, it's right, because in their division was just so stacked that they got the wild card spot, and 2 teams with worse records than them managed to get in and get a home game in the playoffs. They do not, because they're in a division with the Eagles. So I've got them at 12-5, just losing that division. And then my other 2 wild cards, my 6 and 7 seed, I've got the Saints. As I talked about on the Take Purge, I really do believe this. I think that with both the AFC South and NFC South, something that we realize mid-season a lot of years, but then forget when it comes time for a new season, is that a weaker division is often the strength of that division when it comes to playoff time. When you have to play worse opponents all year, you're going to win more games than the teams that have to play the harder teams. Like, it's pretty simple math. And because of that, I think that there's going to be 2 playoff teams from the NFC South. I think the Saints get in at 9-8. Again, the weaker of the 2 conferences rather. So I think 9 wins puts you in contention to get into the playoffs in the NFC. 9-8, the Saints get in, and then the Giants at 9-8 also sneak in. I've got the 49ers missing out on the playoffs at 9-8, losing tiebreakers, along with the Packers I have just on the outside looking in, and the Vikings at 8-9 regress. No more magic for them and their EPA just every single game. Somehow, every close game going their way, it's going to regress this year. So I've got those teams on the outside.
As Juke Summit says in the comments, no Viking is an L. I don't know if it's exactly an L. I
don't think shock either of us if Vikings got into the playoffs.
No, it wouldn't shock me, but it also wouldn't shock me either if they totally regress. I mean, they lost a lot of pieces on that defense. Kirk Cousins is going to have another good year, as he also says, Viking Super Bowl, here we come. We can tell who that guy roots for there. But yeah. I mean, that kind of division is really up in the air. I just think the Lions are just put together like a more solid team top to bottom than the Vikings are right now. And in that division, your divisional wins matter so much more than just playing with the rest of the conference. And it's just like, it's so close every single year with them.
Sure.
So like, I think it truly is a toss up for me.
Let's look at the AFC.
Yeah, let's look at the AFC.
Okay,
now.
So what do you got?
So for the AFC here, another tough one, but I have the
Bills. Tough one.
I have the Bills as the number 1 seed this season. I'm not really buying into this Bills kind of not being good narrative.
They're post-type sleepers.
Yes,
they're post-type
really
sleepers.
Last year was the year for them. As
in terms of pressure, yes. Right? And that oftentimes causes a team to underperform in the eyes of the media because you crumple under that pressure. You see that a lot more on, I think the Bengals are more that team this year that people have significant expectations for. The Bills have kind of gone by the wayside, and I'd imagine that's kind of the way that they'd prefer it up there in Buffalo. I'm sure they're not too displeased with the lack of attention they've gotten so far this year. And
mostly probably because the rest of their division is much of the same this year. Getting so much hype that it's now no longer the Bills and just a bunch of middling teams. It is now 3 really good teams with a viable chance to make a Super Bowl run.
And the Patriots.
And the Patriots. As I said on here, I do have the Patriots going 5-12. I did full divisions there. I don't really like what's going on.
No, I think that they're a contender for a top 5 pick.
I would agree. So at my 2, I have the Chargers winning the AFC West this season.
Okay.
I think.
Whoa, wait. Oh, I totally just was assuming you. So you have them beating out the Chiefs.
I do.
Okay.
I do, because obviously this Chris Jones situation is.
We'd all love for you to be right, and we all think that you're wrong. Is what you understand. That's the case.
I don't love the Chris Jones situation. With outside of Chris Jones, like their secondary is really nice. I like their secondary. I think their front 7 could be a little better without Chris Jones. It's
about to say what? there you go. It definitely is not as good.
Chris Jones, and then like we're gonna maybe see tonight. This team is kind of relying too much on Travis Kelce to kind of carry the load, I think. And
we'll see.
The Chiefs have kind of built their kind of team around just give it to Travis Kelce and we'll not worry about it. Well, what happens when you do not have Travis Kelce?
Well, you still have the most talented quarterback in the history of the sport wearing a red jersey. So that accounts for part of it, I think.
So I like what the Chargers are doing. I think fully healthy.
You know what I don't like? They still employ Brandon Staley. So as long as they employ Brandon Staley, I'm out. Personally, I'm out.
So maybe that is a hot take, but I'm going with them at 2. At the 3, I have the Bengals coming out of that bloodbath of a division, taking the 3rd seed in the AFC. And then the 4th, may not like this, but I have the Jaguars still just beating out the Titans in the AFC South.
I see by 1 game here, 10-7, 9-8.
9-8. And in this division, like very doable. Like this could totally be swapped, but like that's just kind of the feeling I have right now. Going on to my wild card teams here, I have the Chiefs still making it at 10-7 at the 5th seed. I have the Jets as the 6th seed at 10-7. And then I have the Steelers as the last seed. The Titans, I do not currently have the Titans making the playoffs, mostly because I think there are
total villain of the show now. Total villain.
But there's so many teams that are going to be 9-8, 10-7. It's going to be based on head-to-head matchups for these tiebreakers. And I think it's just the way it falls. Is for right now, like if they do not win the division, I don't see a path to the playoffs for them because it is so stacked. But we'll see.
Yeah. All right. I'll give my AFC, and we'll speed it up here because we are spending half the show on the warm-up. So I've got the Bills winning the conference as well. Echo a lot of the things that you said. I think that this is their year to be a post-hype sleeper. I think at the end of last year, a lot of things happened to them. People forget, like, they had to go play in Detroit twice and trudge through a snowstorm that, like, decimated their city. And then they had a teammate who they thought literally died in front of them on the field. They had a canceled game. And then all of this, like, there was a lot that happened to them emotionally, mentally at the end of last season that I think is unlikely to happen again. And is something that probably took much more a toll on that team. In that playoff loss to the Bengals, they looked like they were kind of throwing it's kind of zombies out there. They looked like they were ready to be done with the season. So I've got them at 12-5 winning division, edging out the Chiefs, the 2 seed at 12-5. I think that is going to continue to be the case. They'll be at the top of the AFC until further notice. Would love to be wrong. The Bengals, the 3 seed, winning that division at 11-6. Then I've got the Titans winning the AFC South at 10-7, your 4 seed. So I've got the Dolphins as your 5 seed at 11-5. I've got a lot of belief in the Dolphins if, and this if is the Spider-Man meme holding back the bus. Like very big if Tua Tagovailoa can stay healthy, if he can avoid, I think 1 concussion this year may knock him out of the season, may knock him out of football entirely. So a big if there. But if he stays healthy, I love what they're doing. Mike McDaniel down there has decided that America is based on hot, nasty, bad speed. Like we love the speed. It's all about the speed. And that is what they're going to do on offense and on defense. I love their team speed all around. I think they're easily the fastest team in the league. Then I've got the Jaguars at the 6th seed. Again, I think both of the top teams in both AFC and NFC South divisions make the playoffs because of the weakness of their schedule. So I've got the Jaguars at 10-7, tying with the Titans in record, the Titans winning the tiebreaker there. And then the Steelers at 10-7, getting that 7 seed, which leaves out the Jets and the Chargers both at 10-7, and the Ravens at 9-8, all 3 of which I would not be surprised even a little bit to see replaced in here somewhere. I think all 10 of these teams are bona fide playoff contenders this season, so it wouldn't shock me at all. Let's look briefly at the playoffs, JT. Let's just run down what you have the playoffs looking like.
Yeah, so I can
just run it. Let's run it down real quick. We can talk about the Super Bowl primarily.
Yeah, we don't have to go matchup by matchup, but coming out of the NFC Championship game, I do have the Eagles facing the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
And the Eagles making it to back-to-back Super Bowls here, trying to claim that title that they did not get last year. And then out of the AFC, I have the Bengals playing I believe the Bengals and the Bills doing another rematch in which I have the Bengals once again winning, which puts me at a Bengals-Eagles Super Bowl.
And who wins?
The Bengals.
No, of course the Bengals fan thinks the Bengals are winning the Super Bowl. Okay.
To be fair, though.
You know who I don't have winning the Super Bowl?
Who do you not
the
have?
Titans.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of feel validated, though, because I went online and, Theo Ash has the same prediction as me, and I'm like, okay,
TikTok superstar,
fellow ball
right?
knowers.
Not to disparage Theo. That was convenient. I do love Theo. So my AFC, I have it coming down to the Bengals and the Bills as well. I've got the Bills winning that game, though, and getting to the Super Bowl for the first time since they lost 4 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. And then on the NFC side of the bracket, I've got it looking like the Seahawks and the Eagles. Wow, we had the identical ones. Yep. That is unfortunate. We didn't play.
Probably not good news for those.
No, it's probably going to be 4 completely different teams. But yeah, I have the Seahawks and the Eagles, and I have the Eagles winning that. So I have Eagles, Bills. You had Bengals, Eagles. I have the Bills winning that Super Bowl, though. I think they finally get one. First time in their franchise history, they go 1-5 in Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken. They finally get their Lombardi Trophy as post-hype sleepers.